Dawn of Liberation. The fate of the planet. An unknown band of individuals have been ordered to capture and gather 3 special children, the G-Type 2s. Orphans, Amelia Gale, Serenity Funoichi, and Rose Excalibur must be gathered into one location in order to save the planet. If not, the planet will be destroyed by the Virgin Tears. So, the 3 orphans, Amelia, Serenity, and Rose, when they were first introduced, I knew that I wanted them to be important. And like a lot of things in the game, I started off and kind of see what the players are going to do to kind of influence it, and it starts to change. So I knew the three children wanted to, I knew I wanted them to be important, but did I know that they were going to be part of what they're part of now? No. But when I saw who adopted the children, that kind of shaped it into what it is now. I knew that this particular event would be open to new players who wanted to have a purpose in saving the planet. So I figured there would be some players who were maybe a bit heroic, who want to look out for the planet. They would take this on, or be destroyed by the Virgin Tears. And the Virgin Tears is that faction of that intergalactic faction that are in charge of adding new planets to their solar system. They're like colonizers of planets, pretty much. And we first are introduced to the Virgin Tears when Mistress Sheila Scorn, who is not from here, she's a pirate. She came here in search of the Instigator and his brother, because he's wanted for his crimes, and it's a big bounty. She's a pirate at the end of the day, and she came and she found that, what he was up to, this entire experiment, this experimental planet, this fish tank with all these mutants created by him and his and Deathtude and excuse me. And she saw that there was money to be made, so she reached out to the Virgin Tears and says, "Hey, here's this whole entire planet full of mutants. How much can I get for it?" And the Virgin Tears, they saw it and they were attacked. Their troopers were attacked. Remember, by who attacked them? Haven Guard. Haven Guard came to help, but the troopers were so on their high horses, they weren't, they looked at them as animals, and started attacking everybody. And and then remember, R-Type came, and they knew that he was an enemy, so they attacked him. And then before you know it, these troopers were the enemy. They got attacked by R-Type, Psycho, Aurelio, and eventually taken out by some Nox troopers. That was the first time we actually saw Nox make an appearance. There was a player who was a sniper who's actually part of Nox. We haven't seen him since that episode, but technically that's when the Nox Corp first made an appearance. But anyway, the Virgin Tears, they were attacked. They were like, "Man, this place is way too dangerous. These are monsters." And they wanted to destroy the planet. And Mistress Sheila Scorn, she's a dealer, and there's way too much value in the planet to let them destroy it. So looking at the description of this, it says nothing about a lot of things. And I lay the premise out like that on purpose and build from it. Ironically, Mistress Sheila Scorn was the one that took the event. She was the only one that took the event to save these 3 girls. Tempest, who is the father of Amelia Gale, he saw this event and knew that obviously somebody's going to be coming after his daughter, because his daughter's still in his possession. Rose Excalibur, she is also in Fire Excalibur's possession, and Serenity Fenwichi is in Jeremiah's possession. So Tempest is like, he did a story option, and one of the things he said in his story option is, I'm gonna keep a close eye on her, and more on that later because it gets really fun. And I like to do this. I like these because I kind of get to show you like the thinking and what I was thinking behind it and why everything played out the way it did. But yeah, Mistress Sheila Scorn was the only one that took this event, which means that she would be the one doing all the collecting, which makes sense because she can teleport, so it would be easy. And it also makes sense because she's not exactly a friend of the Virgin Tears. They're trying to destroy something that's so valuable. So the way I kick this off is in a previous episode, you remember when Deftude, Rezanok, Namki, and Dravko Maz, they went and they took the Panet device, because that is just an item that Deftude needed to get access to those unstable, unfinished, very powerful experimental mutations that were stored away by Deftude by the Instigator. And he wanted them because he wanted them to bestow those upon who would soon become Namki's child. He never told he told Rezanok that he was getting that device for Rezanok, when really that wasn't the case, because you got to remember, Deftude was plotting on Nam's child for some time. Remember when he was standing by her bed and he was looking over her, staring at her belly? He was plotting. So they needed the Panet device for who would soon be Nam's child. So they go to Mistress Scorn's ship, they get in, they take it, they bounce. And that was Deftude. But at the beginning of the scene, we see Mistress Scorn learning about the Virgin Tears and what they're planning on doing. They're planning on destroying the planet, destroying what they can't control with the World Swell Cannon. Now, the World Swell Cannon, the World Swell is actually a lore submission submitted by R-Type X, I believe. And it was a natural phenomenon, because that's one of the categories. Anyway, so that's kind of how that made it into the episode, in the form of a weapon that's actually being used, using the planets and nature to destroy a planet, something that an intergalactic colonizer would use. And that becomes pretty much the threat to everybody. So in a way, the description of the event is very true. The gathering of these 3 children is what's going to save the planet. Now, we don't know how, right? That's something that I was gonna let the players kind of, depending on what they submitted, I would choose something. I would end up writing into something that would make sense for that character and whatever their adversities would be, depending on who went to the event. A lot of that stuff is left open. But I knew that it would involve the 3 girls, which eventually ended up being what we saw here. So let's continue. So Mistress Scorn, she learns about the Virgin Tears, and then she's approached by a shady figure. And we aren't told who that person is, but we know it's someone who steps through some kind of portal. So throughout the entire episode, sprinkled in, we see Mr. Scorn gathering each of the children. Rose from Kai Excalibur. Kai Excalibur, he's minding his own business. He's found peace. He's possessed, by the way. Remember that he still has that spirit in him, that ritual G-type fusion that occurred from the ritual of Emerald Prophecy is still within him. But it seems like he's found peace, and he's no longer a weapon of what do they call it? The cultist. What are the cultists called? It escapes me right now. But he's no longer a tool being used by the instigator and the cultists, nor anarchy. He's found peace. He's on an island with his beloved daughter, and they're living life. And then Mr. Scorn comes with Nova, and they take Rose Excalibur. I rolled Sheila Scorn versus Kai Excalibur. She won. She then comes for Amelia Gale, Tempest's daughter, while Tempest and Havengard are dealing with the Nebby soldiers, the Nebby warriors, and Noxcorp. So while that's happening, if you recall, Tempest sends her off and further away to safety, along with Chronicle, who's been watching her for some time. Now, one of the coolest things about this episode, and something I wanted to reveal, is this whole time Chronicle has been in this series for a long time, and this whole time Chronicle is actually an NPC that was created by Anarchy. You first see Chronicle make an appearance when R-Type X, Tempest, and and Anarchy band together in season 1 to take out the Gamma Fiend. Well, Tempest is using his time to speed up and boost and support Anarchy and R-Type. He is attacked by a G-type who can, releasing a sonic scream. And then Chronicle comes using his magnetism and saves Tempest. And ever since then, we see Chronicle pretty much become a member of Gate, and pretty much earn Tempest's trust. And Chronicle was specifically created to be able to look human, act human, create those emotions, which is why Tempest and his empathic ability always sense just what he needed to sense from Chronicle. Chronicle never felt like an android or a robot. He was specifically designed to give off those feelings. And this whole time, Chronicle has been pretty much sent to become part of Gate and learn how Tempest's time manipulation works. That was his whole goal. So you can imagine and assume that over time, the more they get closer, Chronicle is getting more and more insight on how Tempest uses his ability, and they get closer to the point where Tempest is okay with Chronicle watching his daughter. So again, this whole time, Anarchy has had Chronicle, and I'm sure he was going to pull the trigger on that whenever he felt it was necessary. But Anarchy actually stopped playing, the player of Anarchy. So I thought that this would be a great time to finally stop holding that secret, blow the lid off of that. And that's how I was like, oh, well, this will be a great opportunity to have Amelia be taken by Scorn. It just kind of worked out perfectly. Why not reveal that secret and let that be the reason that Scorn gets away with Amelia? So, leading up to it, you see Tempest is like, hey, Chronicle, watch my daughter. And he, I was kind of like leading up to it by showing Chronicle reading her a book at night when they were in the town. If you remember, there's a scene where he's reading her a book and Tempest comes, he peeks in the room, and then Chronicle turns and like looks at him, just kind of hinting to the fact that something is up. Turns out that Chronicle was an android this whole time, and he shuts down. Why did he shut down? Why did he just collapse? Because Anarchy's mind is now trapped. So when you see Chronicle collapse, and Amelia is like crying and like, no, what's going on? That's because Anarchy, his whole thing is shut down. And that's also a metaphor of just the player. The player is no longer playing Anarchy. So in a way, everything is pretty much paused, including all of his machinations. So Chronicle falls over and Scorn comes, takes Amelia. Okay. And then we have Scorn coming for Serenity Funoichi, who at the time has been shipped off by Jeremiah. So Jeremiah gets tipped off when the futurist over the phone specifically asks for Serenity. He's like, hey, do you still have the girl? Good, we need her. Now now Jeremiah's like, why on earth would the futurist want Serenity? So he ends up having her taken, and he acts like he doesn't know. But after he speaks with him, he hires the Dizzy Wizard, who he met through some shenanigans the Dizzy Wizard did through Plottist. But anyway, that's kind of how we tied it in. He meets the Dizzy Wizard, who is a very eccentric wizard, candy wizard, and is the perfect person to handle Serenity, because he's just such an interesting person. He wants to have Serenity taken to a pirate named John Musketmouth, and exchanges her for some gamma eggs. So the Dizzy Wizard comes and he takes Serenity, and they go through their little adventures. He's a very interesting person. Him and Serenity, they have a lot of fun with each other, because you got to remember Serenity, she was a Nibu diplomat. Her life has always been so serious. So she actually was having some fun with the Dizzy Wizard. So the Dizzy Wizard, they're looking for some kind of candy on an island. And the Dizzy Wizard, he's making his little pit stops before he actually gets to John Musketmouth. And then Mistress Scorn comes. Now, when I rolled Mistress Scorn versus the Dizzy Wizard to see if she'd be able to get Serenity from him, Mistress Scorn actually failed. So how would a fail look with someone who can teleport, right? So they match wits. Mistress Scorn has very incredible diplomacy. The Dizzy Wizard has incredible charisma. So that's why I kind of wrote that no matter how, the logic, she couldn't be diplomatic, she couldn't match logic, because he was just so charismatic that he was so adorable that she just couldn't talk him into handing over Serenity. So what does she do? She just takes him. So let's kind of rewind here. Mistress Scorn, she pretty much stated that she wanted to defend against the attack on the girls. Maybe assuming that the girls would be attacked in this whole event, which technically they are, by the Virgin Tears, pretty much. And anyone that may be opposing them or after them. She wanted to use her ships to transport the girls if necessary. So you saw a mix of that. She would teleport them and likely teleport them onto the ship. and then communicate with the virgin tears again if possible. And we kind of covered that in the beginning of the episode, where Doug, her sidekick, her intelligence person, said that they severed all communications. They won't communicate with us. But Scorn is trying to help, but not willing to die for the cause. She pretty much has sympathy for the planet, for the girls, more so for the business. And she would use Doug to compile pictures of the transport location to ease teleportation. She would use unquestionable diplomacy to convince the girls to go to the designated location. And you kind of saw that play out as, you know, she was talking to everyone that she came across and encouraged them to hand over the girls to the best of her ability. And then you have the Dizzy Wizard, who took the event, and his goal was, this is what he wrote. He said, after seeing a poster for an Atlas building tour with the promise, free handshakes from Jeremiah Oliver. Of course, the Dizzy Wizard doesn't intend to do handshakes, for he would greet with a large hug. So that's why you saw the hug. The Dizzy Wizard met Jeremiah and obtained a job from Jeremiah, using his charisma in the right circumstances. With the promise of an upfront basket of Dizzy Whiz Fizz, becoming the Dizzy Whiz Fizz mascot, and exclusive never released flavors as payment, Jeremiah Oliver has tasked Dizzy Wizard with protecting, babysitting Serenity, and trading her to John Musketmouth in exchange for 3 Gamma eggs. The Dizzy Wizard will protectively take the eggs back to Atlas headquarters to wait for the man he respects and the owner of the Dizzy Whiz Fizz brand, Jeremiah Oliver. There's one part in here where I asked if there's any perks or special instructions, and the Dizzy Wizard wrote, if an enemy does arrive, he would hide as a glass of soda, and it would be fun. So being that Mistress Scorn wasn't really much of a terrifying enemy, she's very diplomatic, I decided to not have the Dizzy Wizard hide. Instead, I had him run away with her, and then when Scorn would try to take Serenity, I allowed it. But I really liked the soda idea so much, you know, hiding in a glass of soda, that kind of used that, right? So instead, he actually didn't take the real Serenity. It was just a soda clone, and that pretty much came from when he wanted to turn into soda to hide. I wanted him to think that Serenity was taken by Scorn, just to reveal in the end of the episode that they actually don't have all 3 girls, because one of them is a soda clone. A Dizzy Whiz Fizz soda clone. So you have Mistress Scorn, who is working with, we discover, is working with these masked men. And they have pretty much promised her that they're gonna move the planet out of the way of the Virgin Tears, because they are able to do so, and that she will be able to continue with her slave trade, because they plan on continuing operations as far as making G-types, clones, and so on and so forth, under the rule of Nuad, the Emperor of the Endless. So it's a win for Mistress Sheila Scorn, because yeah, she cares about the people and the planet, but more so because they're very valuable. And if the Virgin Tears wasn't going to let her do it, she's going to go with the Necrofiends. So that's why she's helping the Necrofiends, because they're going to sustain the planet. They're going to continue doing what the Instigator was doing, and she'll be able to make $1 by selling the G-types, or continuing to sell the G-types. So She's being asked to gather all the 3 girls because they need the 3 girls to complete the ritual, which is part of their deal. Did they tell her that the girls are going to be killed? Probably not. But either way, Mr. Sheila Scorn, based off of the information that she has, it's the right thing to do if it's going to save the entire planet and get her some money. So that's why Sheila Scorn is working with these mysterious masked men. Now, more on those masked men later. John Musketmouth, he took this event, but from more so from a different approach though. So John Musketmouth, his character's mood was deceitful. His goals were to use my treasure's eye to find the best loot, use one of my ships to give the Dizzy Wizard a fake egg and Serenity from to get Serenity from him, and to use the remainder of my fleet to bombard whoever's threatening my home. So there was no one threatening the ship or his home, so we didn't need to go that route. So when the Dizzy Wizard brought Serenity in exchange for eggs, John Musketmouth gave him a fake egg, and he was successful in doing so. So he really didn't lose out on anything, and the Dizzy Wizard left with a fake egg. So we could probably consider John Musketmouth an enemy of the Dizzy Wizard if the Dizzy Wizard puts 2 and 2 things together. It's funny because the Dizzy Wizard fooled Serenity, then got fooled by John Musketmouth. And John Musketmouth, this is what he does. You never trust a pirate, which is actually one of the quotes that he has in here, that he wanted John Musketmouth to say. I just didn't know where to put it. And then we have Kai Excalibur, whose mood was protective. In my volcano, because remember, he knows people are going to come for her, and he wrote, "In my volcano lair outside Haven, I protect my daughter from kidnappers. I use traps in my fire abilities to kill all invaders, and if all else fails, I set off the volcano and escape with Rose by flying away." But because he lost that, I still was able to kind of have the volcano hurt some of the pirates and so on and so forth. I even had Rose kind of show that she is a firecracker, so she actually put up some of a fight, burned up Nova for a bit. These girls are getting older. They're special. And I wanted to start showing that by them being a little rambunctious. Remember, Kai told her to stay in the car. She got out the car. When Amelia protected her fellow students from that attacker that attacked protected the students from Kai Excalibur when he attacked the school when he tried to kidnap Amelia the first time. Kai Excalibur is so bipolar. So in a nutshell, Mistress Sheila Scorn went and gathered all of them, but it wasn't until the end when we realized that not all 3 of them were there. Only Rose and Serenity. Okay, so as far as a reward goes because the only person that was successful in this entire thing was John Musketmouth. The Dizzy Wizard, he got whatever he got from Jeremiah, if Jeremiah still wants to honor that by making him the mascot and so on and so forth. But the key rewards are the ones that I have to reward. So all the other stuff is just flavor, no pun intended, for the Dizzy Wizard. Just flavor text. If you want to say that Jeremiah gave you some new flavors, that's cool. But as far as those being abilities, which is how your abilities work, you would have to be successful. The only person that gets a reward here is John Musketmouth, and what John Musketmouth gets is a Nibunese pearl, a valuable pearl that can be used to pay a ransom in order to get a shipment that was intercepted from you back. So pirate, there was an item that you purchased for your ship, a weapon, but it was intercepted and you never got it. And these pirates that took it from you, they want something. Well, you have the Nibunese pearl, and that is something that they'll take in exchange for the item that you bought. Pirate politics, you're just gonna do it because it's what the item that you bought, the Godfinger, is worth it. So the pirates return to you the Godfinger in return for those Nibunese pearls. The Godfinger is a weapon of precise, long-range destruction. It can reach anywhere on the planet and is capable of causing a devastating electromagnetic calamity from its impact, wiping a district off the map. Equip it to one of your biggest ships. You only have one. Equip it to your biggest ship. Using this weapon can wipe a district from the map. If used, it gives you a +3 rank shift bonus to your odds of success. So in your endeavors in the future, if you're using this weapon and it's part of your plan to achieve something, you have a +3 bonus to your odds of success, and it can only be used once a season. So use this when you were trying to perform something and get something. Use this, you'll have major odds, a major chance of success. The Godfinger, a weapon for your ship. Okay? The keyword that you get is trust. You can attach this keyword to any ability that you want, but the keyword is trust. And you can be really creative with that keyword. You go up a rank as well. You go from below average to average rank. But in a nutshell, Dawn of Liberation, it was interesting because the only person that actually had intentions of getting all 3 girls was Scorn, and she was able to. And John Musketmouth went in because he wanted to get Serenity from Jeremiah, and Jeremiah was able to deliver her in exchange for a fake egg. A lot of this has to do with the masked men, but I'm actually going to save that for when we dive into what happens with the futurist portion of that phase.